One. I hereby announce that the Kenyan County Board of Commissioners is now in session. Will you all please stand as we say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I got to get on a different page here.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to those who may be viewing this. We have a variety of stuff on the agenda this morning, and I'm looking forward to this. But first, there's a couple housekeeping things we have to take care of. And at this point, Commissioners, you all received copies of the bills that we have to approve for payment. Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I would accept a motion. Commissioner Gardner?
Move approval of the bills.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. No questions or comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, passed unanimously. You also received in your email copies of the minutes, and Commissioner Nissen moves to approve, and a second by
I'll second that.
Commissioner Amdak. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, passed unanimously. Now, at this point, I'm looking really forward to this presentation. And I just really also like to point out that Commissioner Nissen is on this committee and also the chair of our local historical society. And I'd like to call upon Jill Wanuka.
Morning, Jill.
And Jill is the director of the Historical Society, and thank you for coming here.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Finally, we get to be here for the 150th. First, I'll go over a little bit of history of how we came to be the county that we are today. In 1858, there was Monongalia County, which is the top 3 rows on the map of Candioi County, and there was Candioi County, the bottom 3 rows of the map of Candioi County. They both formed in the same month in 1858, and they had New London was the county seat there, and Candioi was the county seat for Candioi. And in 1870, the legislature passed a bill to combine the two. And from my reading, it looks to be like just resources, financial reasons and resources and the amount of people to put these two counties together. That was passed also by the voters in the fall of 1870, so it was passed. And then in December 15th, which is would have been the 150th of your meeting last year in 2020, on the exact day, was when they officially formed and had their first county commissioner meeting in Candioi, which was called Candioi Station then. Then commenced a county seat battle, which Wilmer ultimately won in 1871. Monongalia, there were some residents who still were not very happy. We found a letter.
Still aren't, by the way.
Still is a little contentious between those two areas. We found a petition of saying how it was illegal how they became a county, and I don't think it was very illegal when it voted and the legislator did it. But there were some people who are stronghold, and I get that. Where you come from is important, but Monongalia, the New London has a historical society named the Monongalia County Historical Society, so that still remains there and true. So it's still there. Now, the name of Candioi County comes from a Dakota word, which means where buffalo fish abound, which I don't know if a lot of people know. So when you come into our museum, you see a giant fish, and that's our buffalo fish saying, "Welcome to the county." And that's where our name comes from, because you wouldn't believe how many people, well, you would believe how many people ask, what kind of name is that, or where is that? And we are the only county in the country that's Candioi County. So we don't have to, we're original that way. So 2020 was actually the anniversary year, and I came, I think, in 2019 and talked to you guys, and we're gonna get excited, and we're gonna have this year-long celebration. And then COVID hit. Some of the things we were going to do is we were going to have a special thing at the fair. We were going to have music and songs and travel, like a traveling show around the county, an exhibit, just try to have all our programming geared at this. I mean, it was going to be wonderful. And then having the county commissioner meeting in Candioi to mark that milestone. And then, of course, the COVID pandemic disrupted that whole plan, which is not our only problem. A lot of people have that issue. There's many county historical societies and counties that went through the same thing because their anniversaries were the same year. So what we decided to do is, we were planning for December, so we put off everything in the summer, and we're like, December at the county commissioners meeting, then we can kick it off. And then, of course, COVID got really bad over the winter months, so we were not able to do that. However, for the museum side, we did social media. So starting in March and April, we really increased our social media just to try to teach. So the things you were gonna learn by coming to our programs, we hopefully got out for you in our newsletters and that kind of thing. Huge response to that because everybody was at home and everybody's on their computers. So we've tried to maintain that even now because that's just been a really easy way for us to teach, because that's one of our parts of our mission is to tell the story of Candiac County. So that was really good. And we did this alphabet that was probably our biggest hit of that time. And a bunch of other museums did it in Minnesota. And that was a way of still telling the story without being able to be together. So we did that. So then at the beginning of this year and after, the cases kind of went down after February, March, we're like, how do we do it this year? How do you plan? Because what do you know what's going to happen? So we're doing a lesser celebration. We're still celebrating, however. So today we're having an open house because we did install a 150-year exhibit in the museum. It's called 150 Years, 150 Things. So we went into our archives, which we have 3 storage rooms of things, plus everything that you see out. And we picked 150 things that kind of represent how Candiac County has changed over the years. That's where I found the letter of the 17 years after we merged the contention with Monongalia County. So we have that up, and then we have we have letters from Monongalia, a sheriff's report from 1869, and then we go all the way up to a smartphone from 2016. So we cover the whole time. And this is another good way to teach people that the Historical Society is not an antique shop and it's not just for old things. We have to keep stuff for today. COVID was an excellent example of how we should do this. So we've been saving separate all the newspapers, all the articles. We've been taking pictures. People have been giving us videos and stuff like that so we can document now instead of like being 10 years from now, oh boy, we should have kept that. And I want to really stress that we have to save today for tomorrow. We can't wait till it's 50 years old, 60s, or you're cleaning out your house because you're moving into another place. You can give it to us now. We'll keep good care of it. And then when we do an exhibit like that, it's easier to put it together. And then the next thing we're going to do is next week at the fair, we're going to be back at the log cabin, and we have a traveling exhibit, and that's a chronological history of the county. So each panel is 10, 20 years for each panel. That's a traveling exhibit, so anybody who wants to have it after the fair, we'll have a checkout system. You can just contact me, and if you want it at library, school, museum, anything that you think it might be interesting to have, you just have to let me know and we can do that. The county fair and us worked on that together, so we thank them for helping us with that. And then on Friday, we're having a birthday party for the county at the fair at 1 o'clock. You guys are all invited. We're going to do a short program. We're going to have cake and coffee. It's going to be the birthday party that we've wanted to, just a little bit smaller scale. So if you're at the fair on Friday, please feel free to come out. And then today is 1 to 3, so we really, really would love to see you guys come out. You can see our new exhibit, plus we have that coffee pot, which is all the benches are in, the sign is up, so we're also celebrating the Coffee Fest coffee pot, which we were able to do during COVID and install and get that all done. It's just now we're able to have a celebration of that. So do you guys have any questions at all? Or?
I just have one. I hope you don't save as an archive the video of me from my hospital room, coming into calling in for the meeting that we had that day. I didn't look very well, so
Doesn't matter.
Hopefully,
I wasn't very well, frankly.
No,
yeah,
yeah,
I think we're-
So as our archivist, please leave that out.
no. We're not, we don't play favorites.
So I could be in trouble. Is what
You,
you're
Yeah, oh,
in the future,
no.
people will see that. But it tells the story of what was going on, you know? I mean, it does, so.
Okay, any other questions, comments from any other commissioner?
Okay.
I
Thank you,
really like
guys.
the idea,
Oh, go ahead.
Proceed.
I like the idea of that traveling exhibit. And I'm sure you all have already done this, but it's a great opportunity for the schools. Because a lot of people, especially where I live, a lot of people, migrated to Kenyan County. We come from other areas and we don't know a lot of that history.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm hoping schools will take it. Libraries is another good place that it can be, so it's, and we'll have it you don't have to have it this year. You can have it next year, the year after, whenever, so, yeah. But thank you guys again for having me. It's always good to see you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you for
you.
what
Thank you for
what
coming.
you're doing. It's so important that we maintain history and accurate history, and that's what you're doing for our county, and we have to look back to go forward.
Yeah.
And I think that is so valuable. It's very important. You're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, Jill's been so good to work with. When we need something as a county or we have communications back and forth, the communication has been awesome. So,
Thank you.
Good to hear. Thank
a
you.
nice story in the paper.
Yeah, thank you.
I told her already that we appreciate her as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, at this point, I'd like to move on to the next agenda item and call upon Mr. Ingleby, Drainage Ditch Manager, and I believe you want to talk about 3 different issues, and the first one is resolution number 2021-32.
Do we need to close as a regular?
Yes, I would ask that you recess and open as Drainage Authority,
Okay,
please.
all right. I hereby recess the Kandiyohi County Board of Commissioners and reopen the Kandiyohi County Drainage Ditch Authority.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good morning, Mr.
Joint.
Chairman and members. I do have 3 items before you this morning, and the first one is Resolution 2021-32. This is a simple resolution to restructure the Drainage Authority members for Joint Ditch Number 16 that we share with Renville County. In the past, we have had 2 members of this board on that Drainage Authority board representing that system, and Renville has had 3. Through the redetermination of benefits, it was discovered that Kandiyohi County should have 3 members and Renville would have 2. So Renville County passed a resolution a few weeks ago reflecting that. And the interesting part was, even before the redetermination of benefits, Kandiyohi County had a little over 50% of the benefits, so we should have probably had 3 to begin with, but for whatever reason, that was never structured that way. So we felt now would be the proper time to do that. So currently, through the redetermination of benefits, Kandiyohi County has a little over 57% of the total benefits, and Renville has a little over 43 or 42% of the benefits. So this resolution simply adds 1 more member of this board to the JD16 board, and that was Commissioner Imdek. And if you have any questions, I can sure answer them. If this resolution is passed, we will have District 3 Commissioner Nissen, District 4 Commissioner Imdek, District 5 Commissioner Anderson on the JD16 Drainage Authority Board.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think as president of that authority, that particular ditch, I would move that we pass this resolution.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Anderson. Any more discussion or comments? I've noticed that, my question is, do we need a roll call vote on this at this point?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So no more questions or comments? I'll call for the roll call vote. Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Berg, aye. Commissioner Gardner.
Aye.
Commissioner Emdek.
Aye.
Commissioner Nissen.
Aye.
It passed unanimously. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, and it's a very important move to make.
Thank you.
Please proceed with the next item.
All right, the second item I have
Oh,
is,
wait, no, do we have to close the dish meeting at this point?
all three items will be Drainage Authority.
Okay.
All three are, okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
The second item on the agenda for me is the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Rail Utility Permit Amendment. And I have just a couple pages here for you that might make it a little easier if I.
Oh.
Back in 2017, I was contacted by the consultant for Burlington Northern Santa Fe Rail regarding the new rail as part of the Wilmer Y project. And that rail will cross County Ditch 10, which is also known as Hawk Creek. It will also cross County Ditch 46. Both of those are open ditch, and they needed a permit from this board to install new culverts at those two locations.
Do we want to show the map?
Yeah,
I'll have it put it up
Yeah, good idea.
so the public can see.
sure.
Come on, going the wrong way.
The map you see here is from the Burlington Northern consultant, and the two items that I've highlighted in yellow are the ditch crossings. These are the new ditch crossings where they had different size culverts in the past. These are actually better as far as I'm concerned, or the drainage system is concerned. These are actually better in terms of hydraulics.
Lauren, if you could just slide that up just a little bit to the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see. Thank you.
There we go. We required them to do a very extensive modeling of the watershed so they could size and prove to us what they're proposing for culvert sizes are adequate for certain storm events. In this case, because there wasn't a secondary overflow or emergency spillway, we asked them to model and size the culverts for a 500-year storm event, because everything upstream of, especially Hawk Creek, is City of Wilmer, and we cannot have any adverse impacts to those properties, and which they did. They sent a very extensive hydraulic report. I reviewed that a few times with Mr. Odens. I needed his help, his engineering help on that. And what they are proposing now, we had some conversations back and forth and some adjustments, but what they're proposing now, we believe is adequate, is very adequate for the size and the depth of those culverts. On the back side of that handout, I put together a little aerial photo with the proposed sites and then sites of crossings upstream and downstream. We can relate the invert elevation, which is the bottom or the beginning flow line of those culverts. And we feel very confident that what's being proposed here for both ditch systems are of adequate size and adequate depth, and will not have adverse effects, especially upstream properties. So I feel very confident. They've done their homework, and they've done the things that we've needed them to do. And with your support, I would ask that we issue them a utility permit for these two crossings.
Okay, Commissioner Emdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lauren, if you go back to the map, the first map you showed us.
Yes.
I'm probably misunderstanding something here, but your yellow box has an arrow that goes up to above the letter B there on what looks to be a fairly small channel. But at the bottom of letter B looks to be a fairly large channel. Is that a bridge over there, or what is that?
That's a very good question. What this wide light yellow area is indicating is the water where the water would go in a 500-year rain event. That's the old meander of Hawk Creek, the wider one at the lower part of B. The upper part of B is where the actual ditch is today. So they're showing on this part where the extent of the water would go on that 500-year storm event. So it's not a bridge, it's just overland where the water would go.
So that would become backwater essentially, until it has a chance to get out of the channel that was built later.
Correct. That is correct, yes.
Good question. Any other, Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, I have a question. So are we talking they're proposing 3 culverts?
Correct.
Okay.
Two at the
Not
north-
all these others that
Two
are here.
here.
No,
Okay, all right. So that's all, that was my question.
yeah, this map shows much more than just what our drainage.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner?
What are you asking of us today? Just a
Based on what I'm
no
presenting.
resolution, I don't see, but
Yeah.
No, just approval for this utility permit on page 2. I believe there's a signature page. Did I give you that?
probably not.
No.
No,
don't
it's,
think so.
I do have it here. I have the original here.
Mr. Chair, I would move to
Approve the
grant
permit.
approval for this.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek to approve the permit for the 3 box culverts.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further questions or comments? My only comment was that it seemed like not too many years ago, we were talking about 100-year events. Now we're up to 500 years events. And 10 by 10 culverts, a good-sized culvert.
They're big culverts.
I should do it. Okay. No more questions, comments? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. And proceed with Great River Energy
Okay, the
permit.
final utility permit I have is for Great River Energy, and I'll pass out a couple of pages of maps.
Excuse me.
Feels like you got 4 of them, doesn't it?
We'll put the map up there again, Warren.
Yep.
Probably have to back out, huh? Or is that good enough?
It's the one just,
There, that's not too bad.
Leave it there?
Right,
Okay.
that's good.
Stapled together.
oh, it's going on right by.
Here, you can have
Be
mine.
one floating around.
Oh, I've,
That's okay.
Oh, sure.
I got it on screen here. I can see it.
Where in the heck?
Thank you.
Oops. Maybe get it the other way around.
Great River Energy has a substation on 45th Avenue Southwest, which is just southwest of Mills Auto Dealer on the south side of Wilmot.
I know where that is.
Yeah.
This substation was constructed several years ago and probably in the 70s, 60s or 70s, and they built right on top of 2 county tiles. So at that time, they rerouted one of the tiles so they could construct this at this location. Now, Great River wants to do an expansion mostly to the west, and they would like to relocate our 2 county tile lines. The first page you have before you shows the existing lines. We have a 24-inch drain tile coming in from the east, from the area by Mills. And then as it enters the property of Great River Substation, it makes a loop to the north and to the west and ties into the existing 24-inch county tile line. The branch that goes to the south, southeast, also crosses 45th Avenue, but they would like to, they've identified this location and they would like to relocate that one as well. So on page 2 is what they're proposing. You can see the extent of their expansion to the north and to the west. What they would like to do is replace the county tile that goes through their property which is currently a 24, they've agreed to replace that with a 36-inch drain tile. They wanted extra assurance that they weren't going to cause any problems upstream or downstream. And then it's in there. It's in there for good. It's new. And then the 10-inch line that is on the south and that runs parallel to 45th Avenue was a 10-inch line, and they've agreed to replace that with a brand-new 12-inch drain tile to take care of the farmland to the south. So this seems pretty reasonable. They also, and 100% of the cost of this realignment, relocation, and the tile itself, 100% of the cost of this project is borne by Great River Energy. There will be no drainage system funds put towards this project. I feel this is a pretty good proposal. I did talk to the landowner who farms the land around it. Wanted to make sure that he was at least aware of it and understood what the proposal was, and he was pretty happy that we were staying on top of it, and this was the proposal that they were agreeing to. They even mentioned that if by some strange instance in the future that this tile needed to be repaired or fixed or opened up, that they would have their contractor do that at their cost as well. So they've been pretty good to work with, their engineer consultant. So here again, I would ask for questions if you have any.
Mr. Nissen?
I will move that we approve this utility permit, and that, I think, is Robert's rules. We should have a motion before we debate it.
Okay. A motion by Commissioner Nissen. Do we have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Anderson. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one.
Please proceed.
So yeah, they're proposing a retention pond. Is that before it goes into the tile? Or I'm assuming then the overflow from their stormwater would go into the drain tile after it's, and then it hits the retention pond first, and then it goes to the drain tile later.
That is correct. It's a good point. Their entire site surface water will drain to that retention pond before it enters into the county tile. They did indicate in their hydraulic report, which happened to be about 180 pages long, that because they're having this retention pond, what they're contributing to the tile during certain storm events is actually less because they're storing a lot more of that water. So
It looks pretty significant.
It
Right
is.
about 7 feet deep if it ever gets filled up. So
right.
maybe more,
So
maybe 8.
just to be clear, that retention pond is not on their property, right? It's on,
Oh, you got to look at the second page.
yeah, the second page. Okay, that's still within their property then.
Yes, that's their expansion. They did have to acquire additional lands
You might have.
for this
For that.
expansion.
Okay, so the farmer's okay with that,
Correct.
that movement, all right? Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Great, thank you. I have signature pages
Okay,
that I can leave with you for all three of these items.
all right, thank you. At this point then, I'll close the Kenyan County Drainage Ditch Authority meeting and reopen the Kenyan County Commissioner Board. Ms. Felt, we'll get to you in just a second.
Lauren, do you want this your copy now, or do we?
The original's here.
Okay, I didn't know, okay. I filled it, I didn't know he had one.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Nice, concise presentation. At this point, I'd like to call forward Emergency Management Director, Stephanie Felt. Good morning, Stephanie.
Good morning.
And you got some information here for us to approve and sign.
Yep, this is basically just a housekeeping item. Kenyan County is the part of the Region 4 Emergency Services Board. I have to refer to my notes because all this is new to me as well. So that Emergency Services Board is under the statewide Emergency Services Board. And so there's several committees that help inform them and kind of are the worker bees to get all that stuff done. One of these committees is the EMAC, or the Emergency Management Advisory Committee. And so the form I'm presenting today allows me to be a voting member of that committee. So my predecessor had that voting responsibility, so I'm just filling in, but we need this paperwork to make it official.
Sure. Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make that
A
motion.
motion by Commissioner Nissen.
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any questions or comments?
Just a comment, and I'm sure Stephanie is aware of this, but they require a certain percentage of attendance. Otherwise, you lose potentially some grants, so
We want her there.
yeah. And I think we're at 80-some% now, but there's, and I won't mention which, but there's one that's lagging a little bit.
Okay. Well, if there's ever options of grants, you know me, I like to
You
keep
like
our
grants?
grant
Yeah.
options open.
Those are, that's one of their rules, and we're good at 80-some%, but we don't want to slip too much further down.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe Karen had a signing.
I got it
Yeah, right
here.
here, and he's,
Okay.
come on up. And
Okay. At this point, I think we'll take a 5-minute recess. So we're going to go on recess and adjourn.
it's only.
I hereby call the Candioi County Board of Commissioners back in session. At this point, I'd like to call on County Assessor Val Savor, and you have something to explain to us.
Yes,
And it's not complicated at all, right?
not at all.
Okay.
Good
Please-
morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so every year we do a billing for our assessment services to the districts that hire us to do the assessing. Some choose to hire a local assessor, which is a local person that has the qualifications, but they pay them directly from their budgets. And so they still pay somebody per parcel, but at a non-county employee to do their assessing. We assess it for the majority of the districts, all except for 8. And what we do is a contract. Last contract was in 2017, and the rates were $12.18. 19 was $12.50. 2020 was 13. 2021 was 14. And last year I did not come before the board, so current year will be the same because I do have to have it 13 months prior to the charging. So 2022 will be $14. Small cities commercial is 20, and then City of Wilmer commercial is 25. But we're asking for an increase for 2023 to $15, small commercial 23, and then City of Wilmer 28. And then that's kind of option 1 with a 50-cent increase for 2024. For option 2, we would start, like say 2022, I cannot change. So 2023 would be $15.50, and then 2024 would be $16. And so I would need a motion as to which plan you'd like to approve for current. And for typically we do a 3-year contract, but down the road for 2025, we've discussed and we'd like to go true county, which true county means that the assessor's office would do the assessing for all districts, and they would not have the option, once a resolution was made by this board, to have the county do all of the assessing services for all districts. And the advantages to doing this is when it's our staff doing it, it's very consistent. We get a very good job of assessing done. Local assessors, they go view them, they bring back the data, but our people actually do the data entry for something they've never seen. And so we field all the phone calls and send them back to the local assessors that those districts have hired. We do all their sales verification, which is a big part of our jobs now that the state mandates that all sales be verified out of the ratio. So if their ratio is out of the 85 to 110% is the parameters that I have set, we have to do a sales verification. And to date, we have 1,111 sales that we've been sent across our desks. So we spend a lot of time doing sales verifications. And we also do their homesteading and their coding. And so a lot of this, the day-to-day work for these local districts is actually done within our office already. It's just that we don't put the man on the ground to knock on the door and to view the property. And they just write down notes, send them back to our office, and then our staff actually does the data entry for every one of their parcels. And there is 4,949 parcels that are currently being local assessed. So every field card that comes back, our staff still has to data enter that. So there's a lot of money that we're already paying to do a lot of the job for these local districts. So that's why we're proposing to do a true county by 2025, which means I'd have to have a motion in 2023, and it has to be following the second assessment year after the motion or the resolution, and then we could go true county. The billing for this, you'd have to increase the levy to include assessing services for all of the counties assessing instead of me billing the individual districts for the assessing services. And I did our assessing services, we do bring in, it's like 300 and, I lost that number already. Yeah, I don't have it here. It's like $360,000, I believe, or $330,000, something like that, that we bring in for.
$435.
There you go, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
I had almost all my notes. So we
Or
bill,
that's,
we,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, we bill out for our assessing service for all the districts, excluding the ones that hire a local service. And so that's what true county would mean. And I did enclose a list of all the counties in the state as to how they currently do their, a lot of them are going to true county. There's more and more every year that are actually taking the option to keep all of their assessing services in the office just for consistency and accuracy. So those, and then I did include the state statute that it talked about termination of the local assessor's responsibilities, which is, I'm not asking for a vote today, but it is something that is coming up, would be in 2023, that I would come back and ask for a resolution to go true county, and then we'd have to have adequate staff on board to do the services for the rest.
Okay, just a quick question. So you're looking for a motion, though, to either take option 1 or option 2?
Today would be an option
Yeah.
for assessing what we're going to bill for the next 2 years, 3 years, actually. 2022 is in place because I didn't make it here soon enough, and then it would be for 23 and 24, so we can continue our assessing services at this rate level of pay that we have to bill the townships.
Okay. Commissioner Emdek, were you raising your hand earlier? No.
Yes. At first blush, I'd want to support option 1, but even in the last couple of months, when we hear of the difficulties of hiring and the cost of hiring, I'm going to support option 2 and make a motion that we adopt option 2.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Emdek to adopt option 2.
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Commissioner Anderson, did you have a question?
Well, I was going to ask about the true county versus the local assessors and county. How, is that okay? Is that in order right now?
Or should we just finish up on this option and then we'll go?
Why don't we wait till
We'll
that
just do that. Any other questions about option 1 and option 2 or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Okay.
It's also, it's covering our costs. We still don't cover our costs. So as we're doing our budgeting this year in 2022, that we won't be covering our costs that we're entailing. Even in 2023, at option 2, we're not covering our costs, but we want to slowly increase it to be fair to the townships. And so, but another factor that's playing into it is townships and us are having a hard time finding qualified people that can do the job.
Right.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of option 2, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. And now, Commissioner Anderson, you had a question about true counties, and I wonder how they came up with that name.
So I know in the past we had a adjoining township where I was township supervisor that had a local assessor, and then after that assessor retired or whatever, then we found out that there were buildings and stuff that he just didn't get put on the tax roll, and so I think what you guys do, I think you do a good job. I know a lot of times when you go to those Board of Equalization meetings, you get a lot of flack from people, and their complaint is usually about the taxes, and people have a misunderstanding that we're not there to talk about taxes. We're there to talk about if you have your property is valued fairly and consistently. And I know I believe you guys do a good job, and so I appreciate what you do. How many townships have their own local assessors now? And is it just townships or is it cities as well that have their own assessors?
Just 8 townships, and it's Arctander, Genesee, Lake Elizabeth, Holland, Irving, Mamre, and Lake Andrew.
Okay, I wasn't aware there were 8, so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Emdek.
and I know we aren't going to be acting on this for a couple of years, but just as I had an experience probably about a year ago now where sometimes those assessors come in, and I know they operate mostly from, on the basis of statute, but, knowledge of the area really helps a lot too. And sometimes they come from a couple of counties away and they don't quite have a handle on, I forget what's the term that you can make, the adjustments, I believe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the right word, but the adjustments that can be made, for example, in shoreland where there's cattails and it's not usable shoreland, or a building that is in disrepair and for whatever reason they couldn't get in it. I think our local people have a better handle on the situation.
Thank you. If I could make a comment.
Yes, please do.
We do offer assessor training every spring, and we do about a 2-hour, 3-hour, depending on how long it takes. And we try to educate so that we have the consistency from our local assessors. They are required to come to the meeting, and I do a PowerPoint presentation and try to, kind of highlight the things that were omitted or lost or not accurately displayed on the field sheets for us to data enter. So we do this every year, but they do miss the opportunity to, when we have our office staff there and there is a unique property or there is consistency, they pop their head over the cubicle and say, hey, I got a property that says it's unique. How have you guys valued this? And usually my staff chips in and says, this is how I handled it. Look at this parcel, look at this. They don't have that luxury of popping their head over the cubicle and getting some information from their fellow staff. And so they're kind of an island at that point. They do the best they can with the tools that they have, and they sometimes follow that building schedule to the T, but some cases that is not what I would, there is room for adjustments, like you said, that not every property is cookie cutter, and we do have to make adjustments for things that are unique.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks for bringing this to our attention.
Yes, appreciate it very much.
All right, then we're all set.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you. Now I would like to call upon our Facility Maintenance Director, Andy Thorsen, and you got an update for us.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Every time he comes, it costs us money, don't it?
I know.
I know, I was just saying that, I never bring really good news to the board.
Well, actually, you were here and finished a project, and a lot of good things happening, though.
Yeah, yep. I think you're all aware that the jail addition is pretty much complete. A few odds and ends to wrap up. Final inspection yet to take place, and we're hoping to take over the end of next week. And looking forward to the commissioner tour here in just a little bit.
Yep.
The LEC roof is set to start later this month. We have a pre-construction meeting this Thursday, so I'll get some firm timelines there. The window project at the courthouse has been delayed due to manufacturing delays, and I think everybody knows that all the industries are having delays for one reason or another. That is set to commence the first part of November, and they're planning for 30 days to start and get her done. COB roof and skylight project has also been pushed back to late September, early October. Also, I guess on another note, I'm here to get the board's opinion or how they would like to proceed on addressing the county's aging heat pumps that are located in this facility in the law enforcement center. There's 228 of these units in between this building and that building. They usually have a life expectancy of 20 years. So for this building, we're way past. Part of the issue is, that they are old and they're failing. Manufacturers are no longer making parts for these old style heat pumps due to converting from R20 coolant to the R10, R410 coolant. The new heat pumps are more energy efficient, like upwards of 20% more efficient. I kind of take it as, comparing a heat pump as your furnace at home. And instead of using gas for your heat, you're using your geothermal. And also you're using your geothermal for cooling, yet there is like a little mini air conditioner in each one of the heat pumps. So, you think about your furnace at home, how long do they really last? If you have a compressor failure or a coolant leak, right now it's beginning to be more cost effective to replace the whole unit than to repair the old one. So far, we have replaced 3 this year already. At our maintenance meeting yesterday, I was informed that we're possibly going to need to replace 3 more. And each one of these units, well, not every unit, but they have controllers, like little computers on them. Well, those are also 20-some years old and can't be really fixed or replaced. We're just, keeping our fingers crossed on them. But really, we need to upgrade on those. Computers only last so long. In the last 5 years, we've spent $116,000 just on repairs, just on the heat pumps. Not controllers, not on any other, the cooling heating system, that's just on the heat pumps themselves. So right now, we're on track to spend $25,000 this year, but that's figuring in on the 3. And now if we're gonna, have to replace another 3, it's getting very hard to, basically budget for these repairs and replacements. So basically, I'm kind of to the board looking for some direction on how we would like to proceed. We can increase operating budgets, but is that really the answer? We can replace so many every year over the next 3-4 years, adding to the capital improvement plan.
Yes.
We can do one contract that would take place over multiple years. Whatever we decide, I guess I would like to bring it to the capital. I mean, if we decide to go with the capital improvement plan way, I'd like to bring it to that committee or capital improvement group, which consists of myself, the 3 building supervisors, Larry, and Commissioner Nissen.
Commissioner Emdek.
So these heat pumps, are they all associated with these 2 facilities right here, or some of them downtown?
Oh,
and
nope,
out
they're
in Public Works?
they're just on these 2 facilities
Geothermal.
that run with the geothermal units.
And we've already spent a fair amount on pumps, and we got more money to spend fairly quickly, and then
Oh,
down
yeah,
the road
yeah.
even more.
Yeah. I'm working with Larry on those.
Would it make any sense to do a cost analysis regarding perhaps even abandoning the heat pumps and looking at solar?
Whew. That'd be big.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the solar would work good for, the electricity to run the heat pumps for the cooling aspect of it, but it really wouldn't do nothing for us for the heating aspect of it without having to put in, boilers and stuff like that. And right now, our geothermal system is working just fine.
But you'd also be able to capture the electricity savings benefits on all the other electrical aspects of.
Oh, yeah, yep, absolutely, yep.
And seems like it would be worth taking a look at. It might be pie in the sky, but it might be something that.
Yeah, it's
Because the
been
cost
brought
of
up in the
solar's gone
past, and
down quite a
it's been, Larry and I have talked about it in the last few years, about going with a solar program, and I've looked into a couple different programs, really haven't jumped on any, because it's, some years they really push them, and then the next couple of years they die off, and then there's a big push again, but haven't really.
I'd just like to comment too as well. It's my understanding that several other counties are looking at doing more and more solar, and some of the bigger counties are making commitments to that. I think it's something to keep in mind as we move down.
Yeah, I think that would be great to work in conjunction with heat pumps, but I don't think we would be able to run this heating and cooling system entirely on solar. I mean, we need to do something with the heat pumps.
Sure.
Whether we, get the power from solar or, through the grid.
I think solar would be it's a really good discussion we should have later on maybe or soon. I think it's important to look at all our options, and I'm also concerned about solar. My understanding, some of the federal dollars to supplement those costs are starting to go down. And so if we go in that direction, we want to make a decision fairly soon. But Mr. Kleindl, you had a comment?
Well, I'd make a recommendation, Andy can work on some of the research on the solar panels, but regarding the heat pumps, I would like to spread it out over a few years like we do with the roofs and stuff, so we have an opportunity to save up and not have one big impact all of a sudden on 1 year's budget. I always tell you, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, but I think from a facility standpoint, if we could check in as doing a contract, maybe locking in some prices. But either way, I would recommend we try to spread this over a few years on the budget instead of hitting one budget all at once. That would be my recommendation.
Mr. Thorsen, how many exactly heat pumps and per heat pump are we talking about? You said 25,000 for 3, right?
It is, right now, there's different sizes, different models from here to there. This last one we just put in was $6,600. But that is with us cannibalizing the old controller and putting it on the new heat pump. And, a controller, if we did one at a time, that's another $2,000.
How many do we need to do?
The heat pumps,
Yeah.
all except for 2.
Well, how many are there?
There is
228, I think you said.
Oh, 228?
Yeah, there's 228 between both facilities.
So are you talking, what would you like to see? Would you like to see them replaced in 5 years, 3 years?
I would like to get going and start doing the very high use ones. So you got to imagine that all the outside heat pumps, they're gonna wear the most and the fastest. Also, your high heat areas like server rooms and stuff like that, I'd like to see them done right away along with the outside because they are wearing the fastest.
Okay. I understand you want some direction in this, and also at this point, Mr. Kleindl is working on a budget, so how is this all going to fit in with next year's budget? And we're making a decision now that can affect that greatly.
Yeah.
Nissen?
I'm just looking for some guidance. I'm not looking for we're spending, $1 million or anything like that.
I think that we ought to take it to the facilities board and review a lot of these options that have been presented here and get a reasonable idea of what we should do going forward. And I have to compliment Larry on the way he approaches things. He's always looking out into the future. What are we going to have to fix next?
Yep.
And is a bond running out so we can afford to buy something else?
Yep.
So I think he's done a great job of managing that. And you can pay me later, Larry.
Yeah, in a lot of places that went back with geothermal, 30 to 20 years ago, they're going through this too, that they're replacing all their heat pumps. KMS School District doing that this summer. Part of the problem is talking with vendors is, well, you can order 100, you might get one.
Yeah.
It's the whole supply thing.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the broadband thing we're going through with everybody in the country wants to get fiber cable now. And so not only isn't there enough, but they've raised the price because of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Mr. Gardner.
Well, we should make do with old and obsolete equipment we can't get parts for, said no one ever. So we know we have to do something. I assume that when these facilities were built, there was a strong economic reason why we went with geothermal in the first place. And so I'm assuming that over the years, there's been quite an amount of dollars saved.
Oh, yes,
so-
yes, yeah. This, per square foot, this building is the cheapest to run out of all the county buildings for energy.
And the life of a geothermal system like what we have overall, I mean, do we have a figure on that?
What, the geothermal system, I mean, that can last for many years to come. As long as it's done right, it'll last 40, 50 years.
I have,
The bones of it, that's what is dying.
Right, so this is simply maintenance that we have to spread out over some period of time to be, to make it feasible on the budget. And you're also taking into account the current supply chain realities as well. So-
Okay, Commissioner Anderson?
yeah. So to be clear, is this a ground source type of heat pump? or
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily.
Not like your
geothermal.
home where it's air to air.
Okay,
This is all
okay,
through the
yeah, because I
geothermal
have a
system.
ground source heat system too, and it's nice. It'll take longer than what they said it would to pay it off, but
Yeah.
it's nice once it's in, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's very reliable and,
Yeah.
you know, it's steady. You can budget for your utilities a lot better than, you know, say regular air conditioning and boilers and stuff like that. Those will fluctuate over the years, where geothermal, it's pretty constant.
I guess my comments would be, as Commissioner Nissen mentioned, let's the facility committee deal with this and with Mr. Kleindahl and either report back to us or proceed with that budget-wise. Is that, everybody's comfortable with that? So I don't think we need a motion for anything at this point. So, but it's a good update to have and kind of know where we're going and.
Yeah,
and
like I said,
it's
I
also
never
more
bring
background
lots of
for the
good
budget
news.
and stuff.
Well, I think what we try to do all the time is give you some information as early as possible. This way you have time to think about it and contemplate, you know what's going on. You understand that the facilities we have, we're trying our best to keep them updated. We have great facilities right now and we want to keep them that way. And so we're working really hard to keep things up to date in a responsible fashion.
All right.
Well,
Sounds good.
Actually,
Thank you.
You didn't cost us money per se yet today. So
This time.
you had a good day.
All right,
Thank you
sounds
for the
good.
good
Thank you.
update and
Thank you.
all the work you're doing.
Okay.
We got good facilities.
All right.
Thanks to
Thank
you.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay.
I saw that too.
All right. At this point, I'd like to call in Administrator Kleindahl and for administrators' updates.
Just a few updates, Mr. Chair. I went to a conference last week for our county administrator group, and we had discussions about redistricting and what the process was at and some of the timelines that we'll be looking at. And so that we're kind of in a hold mode until the state of Minnesota legislators can make their decision. If they can't make a decision, then it goes to the courts. And then once the courts decide, then it will come to the cities and the precincts and stuff to decide where they're going to be. And then we get the final swing at it in probably around April of 2022. So that was some interesting stuff. As you are aware, by Jenny Lippert's emails, press releases that are going on, our COVID numbers are starting to go back up in Kenyan County, which is concerning to us. We're now in the substantial level. The next highest level is high. And so we went from low to increase quite a bit. And so if you're not vaccinated and for whatever reason you choose not to get vaccinated, we're asking you to wear a mask. And we want to get this under control. We hope that you do get vaccinated. We hope that we can keep our schools and our businesses open but I think in the next few days, you're going to see a lot of businesses and stuff making decisions. And right now, I'm watching where our numbers at, what do we need to do with our employees, and making decisions. And so I will keep you informed through emails or at the future board meetings. But if it gets too far out of control, we'll be back to full mask and possibly going appointments only. But right now, we're not there, but let's all do our part and get this resolved. I received an email from Minnesota. They're going to have a community input session, and there's going to be four different areas, and they have 3 different times at each area. And the times are 8 a.m., 12 p.m., and 5:30 p.m. In Renville County, it'll be at the Government Center, August 3rd. McLeod County, it'll be at the Hutchinson Event Center on August 10th. Meeker County will be Thursday, August 12th at the Litchfield Community Center in the courthouse. And in Kenyan County, our turn will be at the Heritage Bank on August 18th. Again, those times are from 8 a.m. The next one's at 12 p.m. and the other one's at 5:30. And what they're going to be doing is they're going to be doing the regional organizational discussion and about things that they want to work on. So I will get this out in your email, but you try to attend one of them if you can.
And it's my understanding too, that if you can't make the day it's in Kenyan County, you can go to one of the other.
You can go to any
counties
one
as
of them,
well.
yep. And just make sure you sign up that you're from Kenyan County. So
Yeah.
your input is for.
Keep mentioning the
for us.
name Kenyan.
This morning, I just received the first report for ARP, what we have to turn in. That's due August 31st. I got it right before I walk into the board meeting, so I have not had an opportunity to look at it. But looks like we have the first report is due by August 31st. And so I will be working on that. I also have been in contact with Kendi and Garvin out of the cities, an attorney law firm to help us write a sub-recipient agreement for the broadband. So as we take these federal dollars and give to these different townships and different providers, that for the state auditors and stuff, we have documentation that it's used correctly. So we have not done that before, and so this is the law firm that we use for our bonding counsel as well.
Okay.
So we'll be working on that. Otherwise, that's it. After you guys are done with your reports, we'll be taking a tour over at the Law Enforcement Center, and we'll go from there.
Are we going to be walking over there then? And they expect us at
11:30?
Okay, so we don't have a whole lot of time.
Yeah, 15 minutes. So 3 minutes apiece, that's perfect.
Okay, perfect, exactly. Well, thank you very much for the updates. There's a lot of things coming on our plate for sure. And this COVID thing we're far from over this. Any appointments from anybody or anything on your calendars?
We already had the appointment for this. This afternoon, we have that thing over at the Historical Society.
So if you can make that.
I'm sure you guys didn't forget yet, but it doesn't hurt to get it out to the.
Good, yeah, we mentioned it one more time. And actually, I'm going to drag my wife with too. Actually, she was interested in coming with, so. Any other comments about calendars coming up, other than conference? I think everybody got the information about registration for AMC conference. I'm looking forward to getting.
Policy you're talking about, right?
Yes, yep. Looking forward to getting together in person and seeing some of the people. It's been a long time. Okay, let's go to our updates for committee reports. I'd like to start with Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank all of you all for your well wishes and everything while I'd missed the last meeting. If you had told me that on a Wednesday morning surgeons would be rooting around inside of my heart placing a stent, and in the evening I'd be walking 6 blocks for dinner, I'd have asked you what you were smoking. So feeling much better, and again, thank you for your well wishes. The day after, I was able to take in the EDC meeting virtually and attended one other in person. Prior to that, we'd attended the AMC recently elected commissioner meetings. It was great to see people in person and start building some of those relationships. Yesterday was Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership meeting. Had a nice clean audit. Sibley County is now fully onboarded as a new member. the staff there is doing a little more in person, and there's going to be a process to be funded for 22 through 26 that starting on now, so there'll be more to follow there. Last night was the Kandiyohi County Renville County Public Health Advisory Committee. That body is actually thinking about taking action in November to disband. It seems a duplication of effort for staff and for attendees. The Public Health Board is a strong board, and I believe that that'll be a better use of time, talent, and treasure. And the next 2 days, attending the annual conference virtually of the Minnesota Association of Workforce Boards. Looking forward to that, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Nissen.
Okay, well, we all met, except, I think, I can't remember. West Central Mental Health Housing Board met, and they have a waiting list. Everything's occupied and everything's going smoothly over there. The EDC board met, and I guess the big news out of that is we gave Aaron a bonus and a 2% raise for his fine work, especially over the COVID, helping us all distribute the money. West Central Industries Finance meeting was good news. They had a the numbers look really good. I'm sure part of that is payroll protection plan and some of the other things that came their way. But they are getting back to work with their groups out in the field and things like that. So that's good news. Southwest West Central Advisory Board. That's the pool that we all currently get our insurance from, and they we talked about a number of things, but the main thing is, of course, they voted to go with Medica. The statewide Minnesota Health Coalition voted that way, and so he anticipates that, and this is not, I have no idea what the number is going to be yet, but he was suggesting that perhaps it wouldn't be a shocker this year because of the fact that Medica has got some great things going for it, but Blue Cross Blue Shield isn't going to take losing all these clients lying down. So he thought the competition aspect might keep the price within reason. Excuse me. Emergency Service Board, which Steph referred to, just pretty routine. And EDC Broadband. We got 3 of us here on that board, so I will leave that for someone else.
Okay, I'd like to call in Commissioner Anderson. Would you go next?
Yeah. I had several meetings. One was at West Central Minnesota, or Mental Health Board on the 20th, and Raleigh already talked about that one. The other one was we met as a county board with public works projects with Mel Odens, but we were all pretty much there other than Steve. I guess he was out. I also met with the extension committee. That was pretty much routine, except for it was basically one of our first meetings, I think, in person, or at least that I've had, and that was kind of nice and refreshing. Then I also met Drug Free Coalition board. We had a meeting there that was also in person, and one of the things that came out of there was we're talking. The state legislature is talking about, or there's been discussions of legalizing marijuana and recreational use of it. And one of the things that was in one of the amendments this last year was that you can, right now, your counties and different municipalities, I think they can regulate the use of it, or like even the growth and production of marijuana or hemp products, if the current legislation that is proposed were to get passed. Once it's passed, these counties, we would not be able to regulate the growth or use of or selling of these products. So I guess what they were wondering as a county board, just to be aware that if we want to regulate that type of uses or sales or growing of these products, that we would maybe want to act before the law might be passed, or at least talk to our legislators and say, can we take that amendment out of there or that line out of there saying that we are unable to regulate these products if they become legalized. I guess that's about all that I have.
Okay. Mr. Mdek.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I attended some of the same meetings you did. The only one of significant difference I will report on EDC in that broadband committee. We seem to be, with each meeting, have a little bit more progress for recommendation towards how we're gonna handle those ARP funds, even though we don't know exactly what our rules are going to be, but the requests are kind of all over the board, from some projects where it's several thousand per residence to some where I feel like we got a pretty good bang for our buck at $1,200 to $1,500 per residence in terms of our contribution, and no real updates on the different entities that are, so there's RVIG, LTD, Vibrant, Federated, and Charter seem to be the players that are looking to lay down fiber and looking for support from us. So, well, not LTD on the support from us, but we just keep working at it, and hopefully we'll get this done in a judicious way.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to add one thing. The storm on the horizon might be that the state was going to use federal funding to fund their grants, and that would be a violation of the federal dollars rules that they put in place. So hopefully they will jockey those things around so that we don't lose our grant, which would really fall up the nest.
So. Certainly would. Okay. Thank you. I also had several other meetings. I won't go into any details with you. The rest of you already mentioned most of those, I believe. I do want to mention and thank Mr. Kleindahl for making it possible for us to do the thank our employees on the 27th. All the commissioners, was for the public, we thanked our employees, and I think we spent about 4.5 hours, 5 hours trying to hit everybody, and it was just really a wonderful chance for us to do something like that, and it worked out really well. They've really put in so much extra having to deal with, so we appreciate that opportunity, Mr. Kleindahl. I had a Prairie Lakes Youth Program, and we did have an update at the last meeting, and it was the day after that I had the board meeting. So nothing too much new on that, except they are still in the black financially. Staffing and salary, we're spending time looking at that because, as we've all been talking, salaries are going up. And to be competitive to try to find people to work is really, really difficult. In the county extension meeting, we had a county extension, Commissioner Anderson was on that with myself. And one thing about, I remember from that meeting on Monday that Commissioner Endek mentioned about solar energy, and we had a discussion about solar energy, and there are 35 farms now in Kenyan County that are starting to do solar energy, and they're promoting that and through their co-ops. So it's something to keep in mind. It's the future in some aspects. Other than that, I think we had a road and bridge meeting. I think we maybe at that, and we had a busy 2 weeks where it looks. At this point, I'm going to adjourn this meeting, and we will get together over at the jail for our tour. So I hereby adjourn the Kenyan County Board of Commissioners meeting.